Evan's fork clattered against the plate as he pushed back his chair at the crowded Thanksgiving table, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. "Mom, Dad, I'm gay," he said, the words hanging heavy in the air like a thunderclap that would change everything forever. The silence that followed stretched for what felt like hours before his father, Robert, slammed his fist on the table, his face turning a dangerous shade of red. "Ungrateful. After everything we've done for you, college tuition, that car, the roof over your head, you throw this in our faces? You're no son of mine." His mother, Linda, covered her mouth with trembling hands, tears streaming down her cheeks as she whispered, "It's just a phase, Evan. You'll see. We raised you better than this." His older brother Jake stood up so fast his chair toppled over, muttering something about betrayal before storming out the back door. Evan sat there frozen, the turkey dinner suddenly tasting like ash in his mouth. He had rehearsed this moment for years, practicing in the mirror of his childhood bedroom in their quiet Columbus suburb, but nothing prepared him for the raw pain slicing through his chest now. He tried to explain, voice cracking, about the nights he lay awake questioning who he was, the fear of disappointing them, the relief that finally telling the truth might set him free. But Robert cut him off, voice booming through the house. "We sacrificed everything so you could have a good life, a normal life, and this is how you repay us? Get out. Pack your things and don't come back until you fix this mess." Linda reached for him, but her hand fell short, as if touching her son now carried some invisible curse. Evan rose slowly, legs shaking, and climbed the stairs to his old room one last time. He stuffed clothes, a few books, and his laptop into a duffel bag, his eyes lingering on the high school football trophy that suddenly felt like a lie. Downstairs, the argument continued in hushed tones, but he didn't wait to hear more. By midnight, he was on the highway heading north to Chicago, the city lights blurring through tears he refused to let fall. The drive gave him too much time to think. Memories flooded in, little league games where his dad cheered loudest, family vacations to the lake where his mom packed his favorite sandwiches, Jake teaching him to ride a bike. All of it felt tainted now, like the love had always come with strings he never saw. By the time he pulled into a cheap motel off I-90 at dawn, exhaustion weighed on him like lead. He crashed on the lumpy bed, phone buzzing with ignored calls from his mother until he finally powered it off. The next morning, he found a studio apartment in Logan Square through a Craigslist ad, signing the lease with the last of his savings from summer jobs. Chicago felt both terrifying and liberating, the bustling streets a far cry from the quiet Ohio neighborhood, where everyone knew everyone else's business. He landed a junior graphic designer gig at a small marketing firm downtown within 2 weeks, throwing himself into work to drown out the voice in his head whispering that he was indeed ungrateful. Co-workers were friendly enough, but Evan kept his personal life locked tight, smiling through team lunches while inside he grappled with the identity he had just claimed. Nights were the hardest. Alone in his tiny apartment, scrolling through old family photos until the ache became too much. Then, one rainy Tuesday evening at the community center's support group for young adults figuring out life, he met Micah. The guy sat across the circle, dark hair tousled, athletic build relaxed in a simple hoodie, sharing openly about moving from a small town in Indiana and the freedom of finally living authentically. Their eyes met during a break, and something clicked, a quiet understanding that didn't need words yet. "First time here?" Micah asked, handing him a cup of lukewarm coffee. Evan nodded, managing a small smile. "Yeah, feels like starting over." They talked for hours after the meeting, walking through the damp streets as Micah listened without judgment, sharing stories of his own coming-out struggles. For the first time in months, Evan didn't feel completely alone. As weeks turned to months, their friendship deepened naturally. Micah worked as a physical therapist at a local clinic, helping patients rebuild after injuries, and his steady presence became Evan's anchor. They grabbed pizza after work, hiked along the lakefront on weekends, and slowly Evan opened up about the Thanksgiving disaster. Micah never pushed, just offered quiet support. "You didn't choose to hurt them, Evan. You chose to be honest with yourself." Those words planted seeds of acceptance in Evan's heart. even as guilt lingered like a shadow. By spring, when cherry blossoms lined the boulevards, Evan realized he was falling for this kind, grounded man who made the world feel a little less heavy. One evening on Micah's balcony overlooking the city lights, their hands brushed, and neither pulled away. The kiss that followed was gentle, full of promise, marking the start of something real. Yet even in that moment of budding happiness, Evan's mind drifted back to Ohio, wondering if his family ever thought about him at all. Life in Chicago settled into a rhythm Evan never imagined possible. Mornings started with coffee runs to the corner cafe where the barista knew his order by heart, followed by long hours at the design firm where his boss praised his fresh ideas for client campaigns. Promotions came faster than expected. First a raise, then lead on a big nonprofit account. And with each success, Evan felt a quiet pride building inside him. The city pulsed with energy, from the L train rattling overhead to the weekend farmers markets in Logan Square, and for the first time, he allowed himself to breathe without the constant weight of secrecy. Micah became a constant presence, their relationship growing through small, meaningful moments. Cooking pasta together in Micah's cozy apartment, binge-watching old sci-fi shows on rainy nights, or simply sitting in comfortable silence on the couch after long days. Micah's calm strength helped Evan navigate the waves of doubt that still crashed in unexpectedly. One Saturday afternoon, they strolled along Lake Michigan, the water sparkling under a rare warm sun. "I keep thinking about calling them," Evan confessed, skipping a stone across the waves, "just to say I'm okay. But every time I pick up the phone, Dad's voice comes back, ungrateful, like I'm supposed to apologize for existing." Micah stopped, turning to face him with those steady brown eyes. "You don't owe anyone an apology for who you are. But healing isn't linear, man. If you need to reach out, I'll be right here." Evan nodded, grateful for the support that never demanded anything in return. That night, they shared their first real conversation about the future. Dreams of maybe buying a place together someday, traveling to places neither had seen. Micah talked about his own family back in Indiana, how they'd slowly come around after initial shock, sending birthday cards now and asking about Evan when they spoke. It made Evan ache with envy and hope all at once. Work brought its own challenges. A new client project involved promoting family values for a conservative brand, forcing Evan to sit through meetings where subtle comments about traditional lifestyles made his stomach twist. He pushed through, channeling the discomfort into creative concepts that surprised even his team. After hours, therapy sessions at the community center helped unpack years of internalized shame. The counselor, a kind woman named Dr. Patel, guided him through exercises to reframe the rejection, not as proof he was broken, but as their limitation. "Your worth isn't defined by their acceptance, Evan." Those words echoed during quiet moments, helping him sleep better. Holidays hit hardest. Thanksgiving rolled around again, and instead of the chaotic family table, Evan and Micah hosted a small dinner with a few friends from the support group, laughter filling the apartment, no one questioning his identity. Yet when the phone stayed silent from Ohio, the old wound reopened. Jake had blocked him on social media months ago, and Linda's occasional texts asking if he was okay now felt more like conditional love than genuine care. Evan deleted them without replying, but the emptiness lingered. Micah noticed, pulling him into a hug on the couch. "You're building your own family here. One that chooses you every day." Their relationship deepened that winter, marked by shared vulnerabilities and quiet affirmations. Evan learned to cook Micah's favorite chili, and Micah surprised him with tickets to a baseball game, cheering side by side in the stands. By the following spring, Evan had saved enough for a better apartment, and they moved in together. A sunny two-bedroom with a tiny balcony overlooking the neighborhood park. Painting walls together, arguing playfully over furniture placement. It all felt like the life Evan had secretly dreamed of. Yet beneath the surface, unresolved questions about his past simmered. A late-night call from an old high school friend brought news that his father had health issues, vague mentions of stress-related problems. Evan hung up, heart racing, but didn't reach out. "They made their choice," he told Micah over breakfast the next morning. Micah squeezed his hand. And you're making yours. That's okay too. The words brought comfort, but Evan couldn't shake the nagging sense that the story wasn't over. His career continued to flourish, landing him a feature in a local design magazine. Yet each milestone tasted bittersweet without the family he once took for granted. Through it all, Micah's unwavering presence reminded him daily that love didn't have to come with conditions. Summer brought longer days and new layers to Evan's journey. The firm expanded, assigning him to lead a citywide pride campaign, a project that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Designing posters and digital ads celebrating diversity forced him to confront how far he'd come. Yet the public visibility stirred old fears of judgment. Colleagues clapped him on the back, unaware of the personal stakes, while Micah attended planning meetings as moral support, his presence steadying Evan's nerves. "This is your voice now," Micah said one evening after a late strategy session. Their evenings often ended with walks through Lincoln Park, hands brushing until they finally linked fingers openly, a small act of defiance that filled Evan with quiet pride. Flashbacks haunted him more frequently during these months. He remembered childhood baseball games where his dad coached from the sidelines, proud of his All-American boy. High school dances where Evan forced smiles with girls to keep up appearances, all while his heart raced at the sight of his best friend. The weight of hiding had been crushing, and coming out had lifted it only to replace it with isolation. Micah listened through these stories without interruption, sharing his own memories of sneaking out to meet his first boyfriend in rural Indiana. Their bond strengthened through these exchanges, turning into a safe space where vulnerability wasn't weakness. One weekend, they drove to Michigan for a short getaway, renting a cabin by the lake. Sitting on the dock at dusk, feet dangling in cool water, Evan whispered, "I think I'm finally starting to like who I am." Micah kissed his temple. "You've always been worth liking." Societal pressures crept in unexpectedly. A neighbor in their building made a passing comment about those people, after seeing them kiss goodbye one morning, leaving Evan tense for days. At work, a conservative client pulled out of the Pride Project, citing values misalignment, forcing Evan to defend the campaign in a tense board meeting. He stood his ground, voice steady despite the pounding heart, and the team rallied behind him. The experience left him drained but empowered, proving that his truth didn't need permission. Therapy continued, now focusing on forgiveness, not for his family, but for himself. Dr. Patel helped him journal letters he never sent, releasing years of bottled resentment. Holidays approached again, and this time Christmas felt different. Evan and Micah decorated their apartment with simple lights and a small tree, inviting friends for a potluck. Laughter echoed off the walls as stories were shared, but when Evan's phone lit up with an unknown Ohio number, he froze. It was his sister Emily, the middle child who'd stayed silent through everything. "Dad's not doing well," she said quietly. "Heart issues. Doctors say stress is a factor." Evan listened, throat tight, but offered only a neutral, "I'm sorry to hear that," before ending the call. Micah found him staring at the tree later, wrapping arms around him from behind. "You don't have to carry this alone." The support helped, yet Evan spent sleepless nights replaying family memories, the good ones clashing with the rejection. Work success continued, with Evan earning a promotion to senior designer and a feature article in a Chicago lifestyle magazine. Colleagues celebrated with drinks after work, toasting his talent, but Evan excused himself early to meet Micah for a quiet dinner. Over pasta at their favorite Italian spot, they talked dreams. Maybe adopting a dog, saving for a house in the suburbs someday. Micah's optimism was infectious, helping Evan envision a future unburdened by the past. Yet the call from Emily lingered, a crack in the armor he'd built. As winter deepened, Evan threw himself into creative projects, designing a personal series of illustrations about chosen family, abstract figures finding light in darkness. Micah framed the first one for their living room, a silent affirmation. Through it all, their love remained the steady heartbeat, teaching Evan that healing wasn't about forgetting, but about choosing forward steps each day. Spring arrived with unexpected upheaval. Evan's phone rang early one April morning, Emily's voice cracking on the line. Dad had a heart attack last night. He's stable, but the doctors say it's serious. Mom's a mess, and Jake lost his job last month. We don't know what to do. The words hit like a freight train. Evan sat on the edge of the bed, Micah stirring beside him, hand resting supportively on his back. I don't know if I can help, Evan replied, voice hollow. Emily paused. We called because you're the only one who's made it. Your job, your stability. Please, Evan. We're drowning. He hung up, staring at the wall as memories rushed back. The slammed door, the accusations of ungratefulness. Micah listened quietly as Evan paced the apartment, anger and guilt warring inside him. They threw me away, Micah. Now they want me back because they need something? The decision tore at him for days. Work suffered. Missed deadlines and distracted meetings, until his boss pulled him aside with concern. Evan confided partially, the weight lifting slightly in the telling. Micah suggested therapy emergency sessions where Dr. Patel helped him weigh options. Helping doesn't mean forgetting the pain. It means choosing your boundaries. Evan flew back to Columbus alone first, renting a car at the airport and driving familiar streets that now felt foreign. The family home looked smaller, paint peeling slightly, his mother's garden overgrown. Robert lay in the hospital, tubes and monitors beeping, looking frail for the first time. Linda hugged him awkwardly in the waiting room, tears flowing. We were wrong, Evan. So wrong. Jake stood in the corner, arms crossed, muttering apologies that felt forced. Emily squeezed his hand gratefully. The diagnosis revealed blocked arteries requiring surgery and months of recovery, plus mounting medical bills that insurance barely touched. Jake's unemployment added to the strain, their savings wiped out from past poor decisions. Evan listened to the details, heart aching despite everything. He wired money that night from his hotel, enough to cover initial costs, but the emotional reunion drained him. Conversations stayed surface level, weather, work, but undercurrents of regret hung heavy. Micah called nightly, voice a lifeline. Take care of you first. Back in Chicago briefly, Evan explained the situation over dinner. I can't abandon them completely, but I'm not the same kid they rejected. Micah supported the choice, offering to join if needed. Returning to Ohio for the surgery, Evan coordinated with doctors, using his graphic skills to create a simple budget spreadsheet for the family. Tensions flared when Jake questioned his lifestyle in a heated hallway argument. This wouldn't have happened if... Evan cut him off sharply. If what? If I stayed hidden and miserable? The confrontation cleared air somewhat, Jake backing down with a mumbled sorry. Linda pulled Evan aside later, admitting years of fear and misinformation had blinded them. We missed you every day. The words cracked something inside him, but forgiveness wasn't instant. Nights in his childhood room felt surreal, Micah texting encouragement from Chicago. Evan's presence stabilized the household, grocery runs, appointment scheduling, quiet evenings helping his mother with paperwork. Yet each act of help carried the weight of past betrayal, forcing him to confront how much he'd grown. The family began seeing him differently, not as the ungrateful son but as the reliable man he'd become. Surgery went well, but recovery tested everyone. Evan extended his stay, working remotely from the old desk in his bedroom while handling family logistics. Mornings started with hospital visits, afternoons sorting bills, evenings cooking simple meals his mother once made for him. Robert, still weak in the recliner, watched Evan with new eyes. You've done good for yourself, son. Better than I expected. The compliment landed awkwardly, stirring mixed emotions, pride mixed with resentment. Jake started job hunting with Evan's help, updating resumes on the laptop and practicing interviews. Emily confided over coffee one afternoon about her own struggles, admitting the family had leaned on outdated beliefs too long. We pushed you away because we were scared. I'm sorry. Micah visited for a long weekend, arriving with takeout bags and a calm presence that eased the household tension. The family met him politely at first, Linda offering awkward hugs, Robert nodding stiffly, but shared meals broke barriers. Watching Micah help in the garden or chat sports with Jake showed Evan a glimpse of possible healing. Evenings on the porch, Micah held his hand openly. "You're doing this your way. That's strength." Back in Chicago between trips, Evan processed the shifts in therapy, recognizing how his growth allowed him to help without losing himself. Work praised his remote productivity, clients unaware of the personal storm. A major confrontation arose when medical bills spiked and insurance denied coverage for rehab. Evan covered the gap from his savings, but Jake accused him of playing hero. "You think this makes up for leaving?" Evan stood firm. "I didn't leave. You all pushed me out. This is me choosing compassion despite that." The argument cleared decades of misunderstanding, Jake later apologizing over beers on the back deck. Linda began asking genuine questions about Evan's life with Micah, listening without judgment for the first time. Robert, during a quiet hospital follow-up, admitted his role in the pain. "I thought I was protecting you. Turns out I was hurting the family." These moments built slowly, like fragile bridges over deep chasms. Evan returned to Chicago permanently as Robert improved, setting strict boundaries, weekly calls, no demands. Micah welcomed him home with open arms, their reunion filled with quiet joy and deeper connection. Together they hiked the lakefront again, Evan sharing how the ordeal had reshaped his view of forgiveness. "It's not erasing the past. It's choosing not to let it control me." Their love flourished in the aftermath, plans for a small commitment ceremony emerging naturally. Family texts grew warmer, photos of the garden blooming, updates on Jake's new job. Evan felt the internal shift. No longer the rejected boy, but a man who had forged his path and extended grace on his terms. The experience taught him that identity wasn't just about coming out. It was about standing tall through every consequence. Months later, life settled into a new normal. Evan and Micah celebrated their anniversary with a quiet dinner overlooking the Chicago skyline, toasting to growth and the family they'd chosen. Back in Ohio, Robert attended cardiac rehab faithfully, Linda sending Evan care packages with homemade cookies and notes of thanks. Jake visited Chicago once, meeting Micah properly over baseball and admitting, "I was an idiot. Proud of you, bro." Emily called regularly, sharing life updates that felt like genuine reconnection. The family never fully erased the past, but they respected Evan's boundaries, learning that love could evolve beyond blood. Evan flew home for holidays now, Micah by his side, the table conversations honest and healing. Professionally, Evan launched his own freelance design studio, specializing in campaigns for LGBTQ organizations, turning pain into purpose. Clients praised his authentic voice, and the work brought fulfillment he once thought impossible. Micah expanded his therapy practice, focusing on trauma recovery, their evenings filled with shared stories and mutual support. One crisp fall evening, walking the same lake path where their bond began, Evan stopped under the golden leaves. "I wouldn't change a thing. It led me here, to you, to this life." Micah smiled, pulling him close. Their embrace held years of struggle and triumph, a testament to resilience. Looking back, Evan saw the full arc. From the slammed door to the open arms, each step forging strength. The family crisis had forced confrontations that words alone never could, revealing that rejection didn't define worth, actions and choices did. He maintained distance when needed, but offered help freely now, understanding forgiveness as a gift to himself. Micah remained his constant, their relationship a model of healthy love amid life's complexities. Friends from the old support group marveled at his journey, inspired by the man who'd turned heartbreak into advocacy. As winter approached again, Evan reflected on how far the ungrateful son had come. The suburban home in Ohio felt less like a prison and more like a chapter closed with grace. Life in Chicago bloomed with possibility. New projects, deeper connections, a future built on truth. Through every misunderstanding, sacrifice, and awakening, Evan discovered that family wasn't just given. It was earned through courage and compassion. The road had been long, but every mile taught him the power of choosing himself first. True or false? Blood ties always deserve a second chance after deep rejection, no matter the pain caused?